I would say I'm concerned about getting demonetized, but it's not like we get paid for this shit anyway. Hi guys, welcome back to 4 on Tour. This is very exciting. We're finally kind of getting the hang of all this. We're on our third video, so I'm really excited for this week because it's I think we decided that it would be officially called the wild card free for all week. So pretty much we just get to talk about whatever we want to talk about. I think kind of sticking with the theme of favorites, I'm going to talk to you guys about my favorite books. If any of you, I don't know, follow me on Twitter or Instagram or just know me in real life, you know that I was an English major. I love reading, I love books, I am a huge fan of young adult as a genre. It's my favorite. All my favorite books pretty much are young adult. So I'm just gonna take you guys through in no particular order, but because I think that trying to pick an order for these books would be like trying to rank my children, and I'm just not gonna even try. So I'm gonna take you guys through and kind of give you a little bit of a reason behind why it's my favorite book or one of my favorite books, and hopefully you'll find something that you like out of the bunch. Maybe you'll see one of these books and you'll end up wanting to read it too, and that is my number one hope for this video, is that somebody sees a book and goes, hey, that book looks really good, I'm gonna go pick it up at the library. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first book I'm going to talk to you guys about is E. Lockhart's We Were Liars, and it is just, this book is a roller coaster ride. I'm not going to have any spoilers in this video because I know how much I hate it when I'm watching something and somebody mentions a book that they like and they decide to give away the whole plot. It drives me insane. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to kind of tell you guys, without really spoiling it, why it's one of my favorite books. So We Were Liars is one of my favorite books because I kind of read it around the same time that I read my absolute favorite book, which I will save for later. I read it around the same time. It was, I think, summer of 2015 when I read both of these books for the first time, and this book blew me out of the water. I had expectations, I think, because I've heard a lot about E. Lockhart, and my expectations were just, she soared right past them. This book is insane. It has cliffhangers, twists and turns. It's like a mystery, kind of. If you're into things if you're really like Gillian Flynn, but you're looking for something, I guess not easier to read, because I wouldn't say that Gillian Flynn is hard to read, but something that's shorter and easier to follow, kind of, I think that We Were Liars would be perfect for you. The next book that I want to talk about is Jennifer E. Smith's The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight, and it looks like this. And I remember that I picked this up in Barnes & Noble just because I thought the cover was cute, and I read the little blurb on the back, and I am just a sucker for YA romance novels that just have no conflict whatsoever. I just want to read about two people falling in love, and I don't want anything to come between them. I just want them to love each other, and that's what this book is. This book is just so cute, and it makes me so happy, and I've reread it a couple of times because it just, I'm a sucker for British boys, and this is my number one fantasy, is getting on a plane, sitting next to a cute British boy, and by the time we get to England, we've fallen in love. It's my number one goal right there. My next favorite book is J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit, and this is actually my second copy because I actually read, I had the movie poster copy that I got from Walmart for $5, but I actually had to get this copy, I think, last fall, because I read through it so many times that I just destroyed the spine. And this one I've painted in, I've marked it, it's got highlights, it's got pen, pencil, you name it, it's just marked up because I love this book so much. And I'm really hoping that this one stays together because I want to keep all of the notes that I have in it forever. I wrote my senior research paper on The Hobbit. That's when I really fell in love with it. It was a 17-page paper. That's how much I loved it. So here's how I see it. Lord of the Rings is good, but it's really long, and I think that Peter Jackson did a really good job of kind of translating it into a movie, whereas he didn't do as great a job translating The Hobbit into a movie. So if you're really into fantasy novels, I would say The Hobbit is a good choice as opposed to The Lord of the Rings. Read both of them, but in my personal opinion. I just like The Hobbit because it's short and it's sweet and it's got everything you could possibly want in about 300 pages. So yeah, it's one of my favorite books. This next book is another one I read in school. The Hobbit wasn't like assigned to me in school. I picked it and I wrote my research paper about it. My teacher like approved it and everything. But this book was actually one that I had to read my senior year of high school, and that is Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, and this book is so good. Oh, there's a bookmark in it. Hey, I didn't put that there. But this book is just, it is a masterpiece. It is an incredible commentary on westernization, and it's so sad and happy, and I haven't read it in a couple of years. I reread it after high school. I think I read it my sophomore year of college just for fun because I loved it so much. And actually there are a couple of different poets. I think Yeats is one of them, but there are a couple, I'm such a nerd. There are a couple different poets who actually took the names of their poems from this book because that's how much it meant to them too, and how much they knew it meant to like literature as a whole. And I don't know, I love this book a lot, and I think that more people should be reading it and understanding it, and I think it applies to what we're going through today as well. So I don't know, I think it's just timeless and everybody should read it at least once. This next one is another one that I've read more times than I could possibly count, and it is Madeline Miller's The Song of Achilles. Wait, I want to make sure you can see how freaking pretty this book is. I'm obsessed with this book. This book, it's a retelling of the Trojan War, and it's more focused on Achilles and Patroclus when they were younger. And I won't give anything away, but this book has some of the best quotes in any book I've ever read, and it is so lovely. And I've read it like 3 or 4 times, and I will never get enough of this book. This book is so gorgeous, and it actually won the Orange Prize for Fiction in 2012, which is another fun fact. And another fun fact is that I am very much so planning on getting the helmet on the front of the book cover tattooed on my body someday. So there's a fun fact about me, little peppered in there for you. Okay, so this book is my absolute favorite book of all time. This is I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. This is actually the British copy of the book just because it's so pretty. Like, look, like, it's got like, I don't know how to show you, but it's got like paint splatters all over, and you'll understand if you read the book, but oh my god, I read this book in one night. I took it out from my local library, and I didn't think I would like it because I had heard a lot of people who didn't like it, but I just, after reading it, I think like 3 or 4 times now, I don't understand how anybody couldn't like it, because it is just one of the most wonderful coming of age stories like published in the past 10 years, I think. It is incredible, and I've read Jandy Nelson's other book too. I don't remember what it's called right now off the top of my head, but I didn't like that one as much, and then I read this one after, and this book is just so good. You guys need to read it. It's just so good. So this is a book that was just recently remade into a movie. The movie came out originally in 1990. It was a 2-part miniseries, and last year another movie was made, and it was very wildly popular, and I am so glad that it's finally, like, the book is finally getting the recognition it deserves, because it's one of Stephen King's best books, and it's one of my favorite books, and that is it. And if you can't tell how much I love this book by just how tattered and destroyed the entire thing is, like, I don't know what to tell you. This was actually my mom's book that she bought. It's a first edition. She bought it when it first came out in the 80s, and then I borrowed it when I was in middle school to read, and then I just never gave it back because it ended up becoming one of my favorite books. And yes, you did hear me correctly. I read this book in middle school. I read it in 6th grade. It is, I think 1,300 pages? No, it's only 1,000 pages. But yeah, I read this book in middle school. I was such a fucking nerd. But the book is so good, and I know there's a new edition that's like bigger and bulkier and like really inconvenient, but if you can and are willing to get your hands on a copy of this book, you need to, because I just think everyone should read it, because Stephen King is one of those authors that everyone should read, and this is honestly like one of his best books, like one of his best books ever. This pile just does not seem to be getting any smaller. I'm really sorry if this video is like 30 minutes long, but I just have so many favorite books that I don't know how to narrow it down. This next one is the first book in a series, and the series is The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater, and it's The Raven Boys. I actually wrote my senior thesis for college about this book, so we're seeing a pattern here, aren't we? But this series is incredible and unlike anything I've ever read, and I know I say that about a lot of things, but this book, I don't know how to put into words like just how much this book means to me. Like, it is the book that got me back into reading. I hadn't read a book, I think, in like 6 months until my sophomore year of college, which is when I picked this book up. I got really into like that Bookstagram, like, or the part of Instagram where like people were posting pretty pictures of books, and I saw that a lot of people were talking about The Raven Boys, and so I decided to pick it up, and I'm so glad I did. This is another book that I've read 1,000 times, and well, obviously not 1,000 times, but I've read it a lot, and there are so many books on my shelf that I could have read if I hadn't reread this book, but I would not change a thing. If I had to read just one book for the rest of my life, it would either be The Raven Boys, The Dream Thieves, or The Raven King. I can't decide. Not to say that I didn't like Blue Lily, Lily Blue, but actually, you know what? I think it'd be The Dream Thieves. I think the second book in this series is the best book in the series by far. So yeah. So if you haven't read these books though, I highly recommend you go pick them up. Okay, another book that is just a shamelessly romantic young adult novel is The Museum of Heartbreak by Meg Leader, I think is how you pronounce her name. And this is also the English version of the book. Why are English versions of books always so much prettier than American versions of books? I demand a refund on every book I've ever purchased that wasn't the English version. And also I demand citizenship to England. But this book is just, it's so good. And it's about a girl who, every boy who's ever broken her heart, she kind of keeps a piece of them and keeps a piece of that love, and she collects, what does it say? A collection of objects documenting the elation and devastation of first love, friendship, and growing up. So really it's a coming of age story, and it's just shamelessly romantic and so cute and so funny, and I love it, and I want to reread it, but because I don't remember what happens. Like, I remember how cute and funny it was, but I don't really remember everything that happened. But I remember picturing, I don't remember what the boy's name is, like her best friend or whatever, but I pictured Matt Daddario as him. I remember I got so obsessed, side note, I got so obsessed with Shadowhunters for a little while, and I got really obsessed with Matthew Daddario, and I think it was after he replied to me on Twitter, but and I remember reading every book I read for like a 3-month period. I just pictured him as like the protagonist dude, which is just, I'm ridiculous, but anyway. Okay, so the last book that I have is it's Jennifer Niven's All the Bright Places, and this is such a gorgeous, I just love book covers. Somebody, you know what, honestly, scrap the music industry career. I'm throwing that back out the window. Somebody hire me to design young adult book covers forever, please, because I just think it is such a cool job. But so this book has, a lot of people have been talking about this book lately because it's actually being made into a movie, and I think Elle Fanning is going to play Violet Markey, which is pretty cool. But this book is just so good. It's so sad, and I remember getting to the end of this book and I just could not believe that what happened. Like, Jennifer spends the entire time kind of convincing us that it's not going to happen, and then it does, and it throws you. It like just throws you. And I don't know, it's just such a good book, and I'm all talked out. I've talked about all the books I love, and now I don't have any more words for this one, and I feel bad, but it's so good, and it made me want to go on adventures, and it just makes me happy. Yeah, it just makes me happy. Well, there you have it. I don't even know how many books I talked about. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's like it's not on topic for like what our channel is, but I figured it'd be really cool for you guys to get to know this part of me too. Like I'm not just somebody who goes to concerts. But yeah, I thought it'd be really cool to share my favorite books since this is a huge part of my life too. Comment down below what your favorite books are. I'm really interested to hear what you guys are reading and what you love to read, what kinds of books, like what authors you're reading. I'm really interested. So yeah, share that with me, please. And I think I'll see you next week. I think we'll be back with another video next week. Stay tuned for Hannah, Caitlin, and Tori's videos, and I'll see you when I'm looking at you.
Just watch me fake it, till I make it.